Simon & Schuster Australia presents The Brilliant Boy, Doc Evatt and the Great Australian Dissent, written and narrated by Gideon Haigh. In early 2019, I was poring over the transcript of a 1938 hearing in the New South Wales Supreme Court when a name jumped out. Kenneth McCaffrey was the 8-year-old son of a tram conductor from Cowper Street, Waverley. Understandably overwhelmed by the bewigged counsel and judge, he had quickly dissolved in tears and been excused. But what little he imparted contained the last glimpse of a figure whose accidental death had precipitated one of the most complexly divisive and historically significant cases to work its way through Australia's High Court. Today we take for granted that trauma is real and that mental suffering can be as injurious as physical suffering. 80 years ago, attitudes were different, overlain by codes of restraint and stoicism. The townscapes of Australia were festooned with evidence of national loss, the memorials testifying to the ravages of war, of male casualty and female bereavement. But these were for commemoration and contemplation. In the day-to-day, one got on, one coped. The law was especially sceptical. It wanted injuries with satisfyingly visible wounds and lesions before it would consider compensation. Until one day, a judge, in an act of legal daring that infuriated colleagues, stopped to ask what could be more real than a mother's loss of a child. So, McCaffrey. Had there not been a rugby league player of that name? Why, yes, there had. A centre for Easts and Souths who had played a dozen Kangaroos games. Could this McCaffrey in the witness stand, I wondered, be that McCaffrey of the football field? The footballer, I learned, had become a publican, raised 10 children with his wife, and would now be in his 90th year, but so far as anyone knew, he was still alive, last heard of in coastal retirement. I made some calls among sporting contacts, obtained a telephone number, and, with a deep breath, dialed it. The phone rang twice. The connection was surprisingly swift. The voice, elderly but still firm, identified its owner as Ken McCaffrey. When I gave my name, he companionably addressed me as mate. "Mr. McCaffrey, this may sound like a strange question," I began tentatively, "but do you remember a boy called Max Chester?" There was a pause. I briefly thought we'd been disconnected. Then the voice returned, quiet and sombre.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?